Welcome back to Wrestling with Horror, the channel where we talk about horror movies, we talk about professional wrestling, and we look at how they connect, intersect, and everything in between. It's a new year. 2022 has come and gone. We are now into 2023, and I am hoping for big things this year. I'm setting some pretty hefty goals for myself in this channel. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I wanted to start this year off right with a horror movie review. It's actually a movie that I didn't get to see until just a few days ago. I wanted to see it last year when it came out, didn't get the chance to because it very well could have made my favorite horror movies of the year list. Well, without further ado, let's talk about Terrifier 2. This is how you make a sequel. Everything that I did not like about the first Terrifier, this movie improved upon. And that's kind of the main things that I wanted to highlight for this video. We'll just jump right into it. So I thought the writing was much better, the dialogue was better, the acting was better, the production quality was a huge step forward, and the effects still exactly what you would expect from a Terrifier movie. After watching the first one, we all knew that this sequel was going to be bloody, 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 and it did not disappoint on that front. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, there might be some spoilers ahead. I'm not really going to go through the whole plot of the movie with this review. I just wanted to kind of talk about the things I liked about it and the things I didn't really like about it, because there are still a few things that I think could have been better. Um, so if you haven't seen it and you don't want to hear anything about it, don't watch this video just yet. Go check the movie out. It's definitely worth a buy. You can go get it at Walmart for, I believe, $12.96. It's definitely worth that. So in this movie, our protagonist is Sienna. She is honestly one of the best final girls that we've seen in a long time. I think that she, given a few more movies, depending on what could happen, I'm not sure how this is going to go, what we're going to get as far as this franchise in the future. But I think that she has the potential to be a very good final girl for years to come if they decide to continue with the character and move forward with more Art the Clown, which at this point I hope they do. So, going back to the first Terrifier, I wasn't a big fan of quite a few things, actually. I didn't like how cheesy the movie was. I thought the dialogue was atrocious. I thought the acting was terrible. Um, the only thing that I really liked about the first one was Art the Clown and how vicious he was and how bloody the movie was. I thought the special effects were fantastic. So, in the sequel, what Damien Leone has done is he's taken the good aspects of the first movie and he has amplified them up to 10, and he has just built a new world, or not even a new world, just a new story around this character and given him a lot more to do, things that make more sense. I thought the story, there's actually a story in this one. The first one didn't really have much of a story. This one has a story that you can follow from beginning to end, and it really works for me. Now, essentially, at its roots, it is a basic story where the serial killer shows up and seemingly there's only one person that can defeat him. It's this girl named Sienna. Now, what it takes to get her to that third act, there's a lot of runtime there. I'm not going to get into the negatives just yet, but there's a lot of runtime there. But when you get to that third act, and there's a lot of emotion involved because you have her trying to save her little brother, who is just a kid. It's actually a kid actor in this movie being terrorized by Art the Clown. You see him get cut up. He's getting slashed. He's getting, I think he gets stabbed. Maybe I don't really remember honestly there, but he gets brutalized by Art the Clown. And this girl is just trying to save her brother and to stop this menace who is honestly kind of been stalking her, whether it be in her dreams or at this Halloween store that she's at. He was stalking her little brother too, getting him in trouble at school by putting a dead animal and making everybody think that he brought the dead animal, which he didn't, obviously. But then you have this new aspect of this little, I guess, demonic little girl. It's kind of a clown too, and she's somebody that only a few characters can see. Our protagonist can see her, and Art the Clown can see her, but nobody else really can. She's just kind of there. It's like she exists as part of Art's psyche. It's like another part of him. and I don't know where that could lead in the future, but I'm excited to see it. But basically, all this movie, it culminates into a third act where you have this epic showdown with this girl dressed like a warrior wielding this blade, and she's going toe to toe with Art the Clown, and she gets the upper hand. Here's where comes the spoilers. She defeats Art the Clown. Basically, she decapitates him and seemingly puts an end to this entire crazy nightmare of a couple years for this area. And then you get this, not really a post credit scene, but it's more of a mid credit sequence where we're into this like psychiatric hospital, and we see one of my favorite wrestlers who cameoed in this movie, Chris Jericho, is working the desk, and they're taking care of this patient who's actually Victoria from the first one, the girl who had her face mutilated by Art the Clown. And she's in there, and it's almost like she like gives birth to Art the Clown's decapitated head, and it's disturbing. It's very disturbing. If you're squeamish, don't. These movies aren't for you if you're squeamish, first of all. But it shocked me. I was not prepared for that at all. But my point in saying that is that I was extremely happy to see Chris Jericho in this movie. I hope that he gets more roles in the future. I think he actually is going to star in a horror movie this year, which I'm excited for, and I will definitely check out. But the overall positives that I took away from this movie, it was much better written. The story made sense to me. It was a good story. The characters were very well written. You could tell that they put a lot of time and effort into the character of Sienna and making her a believable final girl and a believable hero to go up against Art the Clown. It worked for me. Her little brother is like this innocent but curious little boy who not really obsessed with Art the Clown, but kind of obsessed with Art the Clown, wants to dress up as him. And he finds out that Art the Clown is not somebody that you want to dress up as or try to impersonate or be anything like, especially after he discovers that Art the Clown has killed their mother and just destroyed her head. He shot her head off clean and then put her at the dinner table, and then comes in wearing an apron like he's serving dinner. The special effects were really good. There were only a couple spots where the special effects looked kind of shoddy, but again, not going to count against the movie for that. It did what it needed to do. The blood was fantastic. The gore was everything that I wanted and more. I'm a gore hound. I am a gore fanatic. I am not going to make any excuses about that. I probably like it a little too much, but I enjoyed that aspect of the film. Now, the few things that I wanted to talk about that aren't really my favorite part of the film, the biggest thing is the runtime. It's a long movie. It's well over 2 hours long, pushing 2.5 actually. And I feel like there's a lot of sequences that could have been cut down, especially like the dream sequence with the clown cafe. I understand why it was there, but that's a lot of runtime that could have been cut out to trim this movie down. And there's several other sequences like that where we just didn't need to see everything or didn't need to be there at all. But again, that's a minuscule detail. And one thing I'll say, especially with the runtime being as long as it doesn't necessarily feel like it's a near 2.5 hour movie. You don't really notice that until you kind of get to that going into the third act time. You're kind of like, man, this has been going on a while. But when the third act starts, you kind of forget about all that anyway, because it's a freaking awesome third act, and it's violent and it's just amazing. And again, a few more negatives. There were a few spots where the acting wasn't my favorite. There were a few characters that I thought were a little too over the top, which is probably what the intention was. However, I'm not the biggest fan of just going so over the top that it's ridiculous, just for the sake of being over the top. So, but aside from that, there's not really a whole lot of negative I like, or there's not a whole lot of negatives that I have to say about this movie. It was something that I really enjoyed. I wasn't really sure that I wanted to see it when I heard that it was announced, but I'm 100% glad that I took the time to watch it. And if you haven't checked it out yet, you need to go watch it, especially if you're into the gore and the character of Art the Clown. Now, I'm not gonna say that Art the Clown is an icon at this point. I don't think he's up there with Freddy or Jason or Michael yet. If we keep going, we get a few more movies like this, maybe he'll be up there. Maybe he's in a category of all of his own, which is something that we can talk about. But I really want to see more Art the Clown. I know technically this is, I think, the fifth thing he's been in. He was in a couple shorts, and then All Hallows Eve, and then the first Terrifier, and now this. So if we get more Art the Clown, I'm not going to be disappointed. Again, Art the Clown was played to perfection by David Howard Thornton, the same person who had played the mean one in the movie that we reviewed a few weeks ago. So I really like what he does with the role. I know him and Damien Leone sat down and they basically worked out all of these kills together. They worked out Art the Clown's character. And I know that the actress that played Sienna also sat down and she really worked out what she wanted the character to be like. And from what Damien Leone has said is that she really breathed life into this character that is actually one of his favorite characters that he's ever written. So I like that everybody put that much effort and time and care into these characters, into this movie. And it really comes across on the screen, in my opinion. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you get these lower budget horror movies where people just phone it in, or they don't have the skill or the knowledge of the character to really make it work. That is not the case with this. Everybody put the time, the effort, the love into this movie, and it really shows. So that is my biggest takeaway from this. Is it my favorite movie of all time? No. Is it going to be on my top favorite movie list? Probably not. But I do think it would have made my top 10 of the previous year had I seen it in time to review it and include it into that list. Those are pretty much all the thoughts that I had on the movie, though. I just want to say, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. If you can stomach the blood and the gore and the violence, yes, go check it out. I'm never going to be somebody that tells you not to go see a movie unless I just think it's absolutely atrocious. Because we all want good movies, and that's me too. I'm going to tell you to go check it out if it seems like something that you would be interested in. And based on what my experience is, I think this is something that a lot of people are interested in. So if you haven't seen it, again, go check it out. Before I sign off, I just want to say thank you again to everybody who has subscribed to the channel. 2023 is going to be a huge year. I'm really believing that. I'm basically willing that into existence. I'm going to put in all the hard work and effort that I can to make that happen. And the only thing I would ask is, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, just go ahead and hit it. Leave a like on the video, leave a comment, let me know what you thought about this movie. If you have any video ideas that you would like to see me do in the future, whether it be horror movies or professional wrestling, either one, let me know what you want to see from this channel. But my name is Andrew Dreamer, and I will see you next time on Wrestling with Horror.